All right, here we have a very special game between Andreas in the blue Infernal and his opponent, late game, aka Yoru, in the red Infernal. And if you haven't seen Andreas before, he is right up at the top of the leaderboard. And believe for a very long time he was number one on the leaderboard. Um, Before it was reclaimed, I think, by Vortex, and then Parting has now claimed like ranks 1 through 10 under various alts. Um, but yeah, for some time he was very high up there on the leaderboard. Maybe not number one, but definitely the number one Infernal. And I thought he had taken some break, but this is a recent game on this patch, obviously. So let's see what he's got going for us. Yeah, he went Conclave into Vault, but very quickly. So very fast build there, and we have two Gaunts coming out right away, and we're opening with high ground farming of the speed camp, and this is identical, it looks like, from Yoru, who also went Conclave first into a slower vault. And there's a farm up on the high ground. Where's the farm here? Also on the high ground. So neither of them sending their farm out onto the map to do any of that. Ooh! Poor chicken. Caught in the crossfire. That's what you get for wandering over towards this battle. Poor little chickie. But the chicken gets taken out. Casualty of war. Caught in the crossfire. I'm not sure what that was about. I think just the skull went down to capture the speed camp, and then the skulls got that little speed boost. Ooh, double skulls. So nice. So Yoru definitely has a strategy there. I wonder if that's also what Andreas did there. I didn't notice there how he captured the camp. And the reason is the camp can't be captured from the high ground, of course. Um, when you can attack it from the high ground, you'll often have to send a unit down to capture it afterwards. Okay, so they both, or rather Andreas is taking out this one, but Yoru is angled towards this. His fiends are right there. Tried to get a last hit. Not clear if he did or not. And I think he's just retreating. Yeah. I thought maybe he's trying to just regroup. But no, he's going over to maybe get his own vision camp. But now it's Andreas who's coming in to try and creep jack or get on top of this army. And unfortunately, the vulnerable units are in the back there. The Hexen turns this one brute is good enough to sort of do his job, which is tank. Those vulnerable units could have went down, but the brute instead went down. Yoru has to pull back. Again, not clear who got the last hit on that Shadow Demon and who got the income. And it's now just Gaunt's, and this is not looking good for Yoru. He's going to have to retreat here. That Hexen almost going down too. Oh, turning to fight! But the Hexen actually going down. Are these Gaunts going to survive? They are turning to fight. And honestly, if you are going to be chased down, I usually say turn and fight. It's better to get some damage off. Make them pay for it. Don't just die for free. Single brute here. Choosing to see if we can take down the whole army single-handedly. Turns out no. And the health camp now being claimed by Andreas is starting to look a little dangerous for Yoru. After losing all those units. And okay, Andreas, are you going to not push in? Capture the camp instead, try and just get more ahead? It is fairly early game, but has about a 10 supply lead. Problem is half of that is these guys back at home. So Yoru, where is Yoru supply? A lot of Yoru supply are in these imps, it looks like. We got a fully saturated, two fully saturateds with only one. That seems. I think he probably just transferred a bunch from his Therium here. He's reset his waypoint here on this Therium, and yeah, both his waypoints are on Therium. So I think he had just transferred all his imps over as we were checking his eco there. So Yoru's eco is doing better, or at least appears better. I mean, we didn't actually check here. We got only 9 here, and a fully saturated and more for Andreas on Therium. So maybe just a little bit more strategic eco from Yoru, as he's choosing to put more on Luminite at one point and then maybe more on Therium after. We got Plague Axes. Yeah, Plague Axes on the way here. And his army looks to have recovered and is actually starting to catch up a little bit in the supply, which is good news. That might be the benefit of having just a slightly stronger eco. He might be able to get that catch up. Almost caught up now. Trying to capture this tower, but losing his Fiend there. Single Fiend capturing this tower. And putting up a third base. Well, we also have a third base going down for Andreas. Ritual Chamber only now just being built. So one advantage that Yoru is going to have is he already has Plague Axes up. And we have at least 45 seconds before the Plague Axes go down for Andreas. Or it takes 45 seconds for them to research. He has not yet started it. So there's a window here. There we have Plague Axes now started. And Yoru could take advantage of this, but I think he's, based on the positioning of his army here, he seems to just be trying to get this third base up. So he can take this game through the mid game and maybe even into the late game. A pretty big looking force from Andreas. So the supply lead going back to him. While he almost was caught up by Yoru, he's now... actually Yoru pumps a bunch of units and catches up again. So maybe they're just on slightly different macro cycles. And they're kind of, matching each other pace for pace. And it looks like, okay, a lot of conclaves here. A single vault. We got 2 more buildings, another conclave. Another conclave. So lots of conclave tech, it looks like, committed to this, and it looks like mostly unupgraded brutes for Yoru as a front line. And I do like that also as a Luminite sink. If you are finding you have extra Luminite, that doesn't seem to be the case here. It's very possible that we're going to... Well, I was going to say we might be looking for a dragon, but the Animus is just way too low at this point. A very... Well, this is not great for Yoru. A few of his units seem to have got caught out there. Actually, they managed to retreat, so that's good. Didn't quite lose them all. But Andreas being just a little bit more aggressive on the map, I feel. So, like, Yoru's trying to get up here on pressure. There's a single mag there and a Nightfall infestation going down. And the Meg waiting to trample into is on top of those slowed units, which I think is great. And managing also to get inside that force, but not going too deep in. Not too deep in so that he can chomp down on those fiends and get that Shroud Skin back. The Meg managing to stay alive. So again, the single Meg, it's an interesting meta game that we're starting to see. Again, he chomped again on one of those fiends to get more Shroud Skin, staying alive. Allowing him to become the hero mag. It's just a lot of gaunts from Yoru. Now there's super speedy lightning fast. They got over here really quick. Plague Axes for both, so we're now seeing infest on a lot of gaunts here, but Yoru is choosing to pull back again, allowing for Andreas to take another vision camp. Pardon me, a few coughs coming in there. But Yoru getting up on here saying, no, I do want to take down this camp. Look at all those gaunts. Pretty good Nightfall infestation going down. Second Meg coming in, a kind of a flank Meg. They don't have the upgrades. Again, if you're only going to make one Meg, you're probably not going to go for the upgrades. In this case, the second one might just be an added bonus. But Andreas is looking like he might want to push. A Manifest Shroudstone goes down, and we have Weavers now. The Weavers are the answers to those Megs, and one Meg finally goes down. It can't be too much of a hero when you're stunned and lashed in like that. Again, great splits there from Yoru. A lash coming in on one of his weavers, and it gets focused down, but the weaver lashes the Magmadon. Both mags are down now. And now it's just weaves and gaunts teeing up against each other. And it looks like there's just slightly better positioning from Yoru as more of his gaunts are able to fire. Andreas keeps microing back his gaunts. His weavers are engaging on the top side. Unfortunately, you want them right on top of your gaunts so that they can tank for them. And now the weavers are being chased away, and Andreas is able to reposition. That's where he wanted his units, so he raced his gaunts all the way back so he can get them underneath his weavers. Now there's just a lot of weavers there. They're super tanky boys. The only problem is they're not super great in terms of damage dealing versus gaunts. You want your weavers just stomping down on top of those high hit point units because they deal damage in terms of percentages. Gaunts are just small, so they're just not taking as big a hits from the weavers as the weavers can lay down on a mag or a hellborn or something like that, or another weaver. Weavers are great against weavers. And now it looks like Yoru's kind of moved away to do some creeping, but Andreas is trying to get on top of that. A whiffed Nightfall infestation from Yoru, but actually a pretty sweet concave there. He decides not to stay in it and try and move up onto the high ground and get a little bit of a benefit from being up a little higher and maybe a little more balled together. You can have a lot of good DPS with a concave, but your units can tend to get a little bit more spread out. A little unsure whether he wants to engage into this. There's so many weavers for Andreas. They're super tanky, but they're just not super good against... Look at them, they're lashing in the brutes because there's really nothing to target. So the gaunts just don't... When you have this big gaunt ball, you don't really want to be firing on the weavers because you can spend all that DPS on the weaver and all you get is one fiend out of it. What you'd rather do is DPS down a whole bunch of gaunts and get a bunch of fiends out of it and try and get that snowball going. Speaking of which, we got a small gaunt strike force being pushed out over here on the right, trying to take out this base. I don't see what happened to this base before, but it's super low. So maybe it had been attacked by some fiends, and now it's gone. But the force of Yoru has now pushed Andreas back, and he does have a dragon with these gaunts, which can be super helpful. And he's going to get a little fiend donation here from these creeps. And Andreas is choosing to engage, also has a dragon of his own. The one weaver of Yoru gets lashed in. There is a Magmadon here on top of these gaunts, but they are focusing it down. The dragons are going toe to toe, but it does look like there's a slightly more fiends showing up on the side of Yoru. Those weavers are doing a good job of tanking, but look at how many fiends there are. Oh, this is not looking good for Andreas. It's just a snowball of fiends. Andreas is turning. That's what you want out of your dragon and your gaunts. Just so many fiends. Look at them all running through that sweet grass. All the way up onto the high ground. These fiends are... There's a last stand out of Andreas here. This dragon just... You don't want dragon on fiends. You want dragon on higher units that are going to spawn fiends. But this dragon is just on his last legs trying to clean this up. And I just don't see how this is anything but a GG out of Andreas now. We've got so many fiends in this base. So many gaunts still alive. The dragon of Yoru is still just doing... Look at all these fiends up here just eating down imps. The dragon of Andreas goes down. And here go... There's just so many bases for Andreas, but he's just losing production. He's losing pretty much everything here. And that looks like that is the end of the game. I didn't see a GG there, but that was certainly a GG out of Yoru and Andreas.